Number one, like I've always felt, yes, customers are like who we're serving.
Totally.
But it always does
Your
start with your
team.
people and your team, because if you're treating them right and they believe in you and the brand and they're doing things the way you want them to, you know, customer first, that's naturally going to transition out to the customers, because
100%.
customers aren't always right.
No.
You know, there's that old saying that they are, but they're not. And so when those things go wrong, if you have a great culture, because that's the hard thing as you grow and scale a business, like it's your parents, you know, nobody's going to probably care as much as you as the owners do. But
is it scalable? And that's what you always have to be asking. And so as we've continued to grow, certain processes and things we used to do, like we can't anymore because of just the amount of, you know, time and capabilities. And so you're always thinking, like, does this scale? But also, like, how do you keep your core and your mission and your vision and your values the same as you continue to grow? And it's really also the people and how you're hiring and you're instilling, you know, those, your mission and your vision to your team so that they're representing the company and the brand out there too.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for hopping into another episode of the Be Bright podcast. Today we're here with friend and business associate Allie Jennings of AJF Home Inspections. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, first woman on the podcast.
I love it.
Girl power.
Girl power. I'm all about that.
Yeah, we had to start strong. So appreciate you coming on. We've had a great partnership over the last few years, and just really looking forward to chat more about that and the industry, the real estate industry as it pertains to solar. As you know, and to give those people watching, whether you're on the solar side, real estate side, or maybe you didn't pick a side, that, you know, there's kind of a divide there. And my goal starting off as a real estate agent a decade ago, very small stint, then getting into solar, I always felt like, you know, internally in a weird way, I just had this mission to like somehow bridge the gap a little bit. And I feel like our partnership's helping with that. And it mainly comes from education on both sides and an understanding and realizing that, you know, real estate transaction, people that are involved with that, as well as the solar. Solar's not going anywhere. People assisting, you know, selling homes, buying homes is not going anywhere. So we got to work together.
Absolutely.
But before we get into all that, would love to just kind of kick off with a little bit of a history about AJF. You know, if you don't mind, give us a quick little background about you, about AJF, and how it got started.
So AJF is a family owned, founded company. My parents, Sharon and Paul Furman, founded it in 1996. We moved from Philadelphia, where they had a radon testing and remediation company. My dad's a professional engineer, and so in 96 they picked Arizona. They did research. They wanted just somewhere new, like great weather. He was tired of he was a nuclear engineer, so just like corporate life, and then they were running this radon business as well. They sold and is still in existence today, which is pretty cool. And so they picked Arizona, and it was still really the Wild West. Inspectors at the time were not required to be licensed. Home inspectors now are required to be licensed since 2003. And so when he started, we kind of started in Scottsdale and Paradise Valley and a little bit of the luxury market, because people moving here were like used to engineers or those types of home inspectors. So like, oh, we want the engineer. So it started in our house. He was our only inspector. And now 29 years later, we have, I think we're over 20 full-time inspectors. Wow. And we have a sewer scope division and a really great team, and we service all of Maricopa County and beyond up into northern Arizona. So it's been fun. I grew up in it. It literally was like in our house.
That's awesome.
Now Josh, my brother who you've met, is also helping to lead the company and the team. So it's him and I in the day-to-day together. And my parents are now more retired and get to kind of take a step back and watch, you know, their legacy continue. And both Josh and I actually went into different fields first because we didn't want anything to do with the business in our own. And then we found it in our own way. So I did social work. I got my master's in social work and did that, and then needed, you know, extra money because when I was young, I wanted to save the world. So I said, I'll work at AJF part-time. So, and then I kept doing more and more, and I really enjoyed just being in the business and having the opportunity to also go out and do, like, build our relationships with our real estate agents and clients and just deliver a really great service. And so it's been about almost 10 years full-time that I've now been in this role. And so we've had a really good evolution, and it's been fun to kind of continue on and see where we can keep growing our business.
Are you still paying the electric company for power every single month? You're not only losing money, you're investing in someone else's future, not your own. Bright Home Energy has over 400 5-star reviews and over 100 5-star reviews on the BBB. That means real homeowners just like you are already making the switch with quality and peace of mind. We are the preferred solar installer for Solar Edge Technologies in Arizona. Not a title that was given, but a title that was earned through quality, structure, and peace of mind. As a NABCEP certified solar installer and an APS qualified technology installer, your solar installation with Bright Home Energy is not good, it's top tier. So the choice is yours. You can either keep paying your utility company every month, making them rich, or you can make the switch to solar and start investing in your future today. No, that's awesome. And yeah, I didn't think about it in that dynamic. So I too came from a family-owned business that's not Bright Home. But growing up in that, I mean, same thing. My parents started, first office was in the house. And I mean, looking back on that, it's kind of interesting how I feel like maybe it wasn't like necessarily my thought or intentional, but I feel like I picked up a lot of things. Through osmosis even, seeing the challenges, seeing the opportunities, seeing the good times, seeing the bad times, and realizing that, hey, these are just my parents, two people just trying to figure it out as they go and try to grow and build. I mean, from you, were there any kind of formidable experiences growing up, maybe business related that stuck with you?
Yeah, I think it's so funny because, I remember as a kid, like, you get older, and I was 10 when we moved here, and friends, they kind of knew what their parents did, but they didn't really know. And I always thought that was so interesting because I'm like, how do you not know what your parents do? Like, I have to go to work with them half the time. And then even when they owned a radon testing company, my mom, which she went from she was in sales and marketing in the television industry in New York City. She used to joke, and they had this radon business, and she was deploying the radon test. So she would go traverse the attic, and my brother and I were even younger at the time, so she would have to bring us along, right? And so we've just kind of grown up watching what they do,
right? And
it was dinner time talk, and so I think you just saw the good and the struggles and just the hard work, and they were always really good though about we always had family dinner, so it would be really late depending on when they would come home. And I was in high school by the time they were adding on. We had a few inspectors, and so they were really in that space. And so I think the hustle of it all was really ingrained, and just one thing that my mom and my dad, but she's really the marketing, the relationship building side in that piece, was just doing really good business and leading with integrity and just always making sure you're delivering and doing the right thing. And so that too can come.
Yeah.
And really, the stress and the ups and downs of always trying, because it's a customer service business as well, right? And a lot of the times when, we're doing the home inspection or something may happen, not to the fault of us, just how customer service works and expectations, right? And making sure that we were always trying to deliver and make people happy, even when it's nothing that we could have really prevented, right? Because a house is a system and things break and things happen, right? And we're all human. So it's how do you also handle when those issues come up. And so I watched that too, and just leading with that, and the stress, the good and the bad. And here we are, but I think too, that's what drove Josh and I back into the business. He's an attorney by trade, is, the care that my parents have taken when watching what they've grown, and just knowing that they've really built something, a culture and a team, and just taking care of also their team and their people, because that's how you build your company, is also the people that you have within the company. That's your company. And so still being really proud of that and being able to continue and growing that and continuing on that legacy, I think is kind of what led us both back to the business in different times.
No, that is interesting, because we talk about it all the time on this program and just at our company, that a couple principles there that I think stand the test of time. Number one, I've always felt, yes, customers are who we're serving, but it always does start with your people and your team, because if you're treating them right and they believe in you and the brand, and they're doing things the way you want them to, customer first, that's naturally going to transition out of the customers, because customers aren't always right. There's that old saying that they are, but they're not. And so when those things go wrong, if you have a great culture, because that's the hard thing as you grow and scale a business, it's your parents, nobody's going to probably care as much as you as the owners do. But
is it scalable? And that's what you always have to be asking. And so as we've continued to grow, certain processes and things we used to do, like we can't anymore because of just the amount of, time and capabilities. And so you're always thinking, like, does this scale? But also, like, how do you keep your core and your mission and your vision and your values the same as you continue to grow? And it's really also the people and how you're hiring and you're instilling, those, your mission and your vision to your team so that they're representing the company and the brand out there too.
And how do you feel like, I mean, that's probably a good segue. Like, what have you all done, do you feel like, that's really helped you continue that on?
Do that? I think, I think part of it is slowing down too when you're interviewing your team members, for not just for us, but inspectors, our client care team that does our scheduling. I oversee our sales and marketing team. And so those, our account executives who are out there, being able to meet real estate agents and clients and explaining our services and building their own relationships and bringing their own uniques to, meeting those people. And so I think it takes time. And so we've been able to hone kind of our interview process and multiple interviews and the right questions and, making sure that people also understand, like, our vision, our culture, and does that align with things that you're looking for? Because if it doesn't align, that's okay too. And so I think it's, it's starting there to slow down and not being too fast to just bring on a team member because we need to. And so I think it starts with that. And then when they're in, like, we really do try to, like, embody that family feel, even as we, we're bigger for inspection companies. We're still not, like, a super large company in that sense. But, inspectors are out there inspecting every day. Everybody's kind of out there. So how do you make sure you're keeping people to feel connected as a team, even if they're not necessarily seeing each other on the day-to-day? So we use, like, in our Gmail system, we have chats. So we have, like, really fun, like, photo contest chats, and, like, everyone chats, and we try to do celebrations. We have, like, birthdays and anniversaries and, like, shout outs and reviews. And so it's always like, how do you bring back people feeling connected? And so, and even for our inspectors, they're all on a team with team captains. So, like, the captains are higher level inspectors, and they'll do, any question that they may have on an inspection that's something they're not sure, maybe something they haven't seen all the time. They reach out to their captain. They'll do little, team events or different things. We'll do, like, quarterly company events and things like that. So I think it's always trying to make sure people feel that sense of, family and connection with each other, and, like, that camaraderie, even if you're not necessarily working side by side together every day.
No, I think it's important. The human element is so, it's kind of one thing that I've just never thought of in the business sense, because you always think of, like, the product, the customer, but then when you boil it all down, it's like there's the human element in all of it.
And everybody, your team spends more time at work than you do, like, most days. So hopefully you like what you're doing, or the people. And it's really the people. Like, do you like the people that you're at least connecting with and working with? And how do you build that? And
it's tough because, especially, I mean, depending on ages of people, there's different generations, and it's true that different generations act differently. They're motivated differently. They want different things. It's like, even like right now, we're in this big solar boom, and tomorrow night, it's like we have our office team that's going to be here after work, from 5 to 9, and, like, it's not like a forced overtime. We're paying them for it. We're having pizza, but, like, it's important that, like, the owners are, like, we're going to be there. Totally. You know what I mean? And it's like, just little things like that I think, like, hey, we're here with you, and we're not going to ask you to do something that we're not willing to 100%. Do. Though your role and our roles are differently, like, we believe in you to do what you need to do, and hopefully you believe in us to do what we need to do. But, I think culture is everything. And people, it just goes back to the old saying, like, they don't know how much, or they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And just sort of those small things, like, love to hear about the group chats.
Yeah, no, they're fun. They're hysterical.
And it kind of makes your day better,
It does, because we're all out there. Sometimes you see, like, a really great photo, you're like, that's awesome, right? Or something, like, really unique, right? Because everybody's out there, you're seeing things on the daily, and
what's some of, like, the craziest things you guys have seen?
I don't even know.
Or experienced in the inspection room?
I mean, there's so many different stories, and somebody just told me, like, they've definitely come across, like, some creatures and rattlesnakes, and, like, you gotta stay on your toes out there, right? Like, there's, like, that piece of it, and they would have the answers to that. I couldn't even tell you, but
maybe you had to do a competition for that.
It's funny because, like, Ashley's great because we'll try to get, social media and and different ideas for content, just sharing
Right.
what we do because it's fun.
Sure.
And now that's the world that we live in, is
Yep.
everybody wants to like just engage and like see different things. So she's run some different things at times for the inspectors, because also informational. I mean, they're seeing certain parts about your home that
Right.
like, even though I'm not a licensed inspector and I'm not technical, I know a little bit more than most people, but I still have no idea sometimes. Sure. And so you see these things to just also kind of educate people about their home. But so she ran some fun contests to see if we could get people to give us content, because they're in inspector mode, right? Like they're not worrying about like, oh, let me get some photos for you, in that sense. But you definitely like, you're in a lot of different places. You see a lot of different things every day. And we do a lot of different types of properties, from residential, unique homes, right, in historic district, older homes, luxury homes, commercial. So there's a lot out there to be able to see, and we're also guests in somebody's home too, so you respect that and honor that. But
well, I mean, I guess from y'all's standpoint, obviously starting in '96, and here we are 30 years later. How do you feel like, and maybe it's more recently, the last 5 or 10 years, I mean, how has the home inspection industry changed, and what's kind of next for it?
That's a great question. So for us, I think that we've always looked at ourselves as leaders in our industry, so in the home inspection space. So years ago, we started termite inspections, was like our first into like kind of that one-stop shop. So we were one of the first inspection companies in Arizona to start having our inspectors become termite licensed, because it's a separate license from inspector. So to do a termite inspection, you have to be termite licensed. But the idea was, we're home inspectors, we're in your home, we're already looking at places that like a termite only inspector may not, they're not necessarily traversing your attic, they're not necessarily opening every cabinet and things to be able to see. So it just made sense. So that was kind of like the start of that, one stop. And then we always offered radon testing, because we had done the testing back east, that's a licensed state. Here we're not licensed. We're a more moderate state, but so we've always added that. And then over the years, we've just, our focus and vision is delivering truly valuable services at a high level. So how can we continue to provide services that we know agents and our clients are looking for the home inspection, that may not be a part of the home inspection, but it's an additional service that they want to know about their investment, the biggest investment they're making. And so mold air quality assessments we do in-house. Our sewer scope division we launched about 4 years ago, and that was something that we thought about for a while, because we knew we wanted to be able to offer the main sewer line inspection. So it's when you have the video camera that goes from the main of the house out to the city street. And it's an expensive repair potentially, depending on what the issue is, because sometimes you have it under driveway or different things. So it's not just the repair, but it's the ancillary of cost. And so that was something we kept going back and forth. We like doing most things in-house. Of course. Bright Home Solar is our first service that we're offering as a partnership, not in-house, but it took us a long time to find the right partner, right? Because we like that control and being able to make sure we're delivering it at a high level. And so the sewer scope was something we brought in as sewer scope technicians. So we did it separate. So it's not our home inspectors, doing the sewer scope. So in that regard, we were able to buy rigid equipment, which is the most expensive camera equipment on the market, but it's the highest quality. You can see everything. So now we have, at this point, I think we have 5 sewer scope technicians and 5 trucks outfitted with, thousands of dollars worth of great equipment, so that we can offer the sewer scope standalone or with the inspection, and do it at a high level. And we deliver the video and the written report. And then from there, it kind of kept evolving of, okay, we find a lot of problems as home inspectors, but we also know a lot of people and that we trust in the field to help you with the solutions. So how can we kind of funnel that into an ecosystem to be able to help agents or clients when they've done the inspection? Let me get you some quotes quickly with local people that we trust. You're not obligated to use them by any means. It's just getting you information quickly when your timelines are tight. You want to know, everybody says, well, what's that going to cost? What do I need to do to repair it, right? And that's not within our scope, but we can certainly hook you up with, getting somebody that we trust to at least get you a quote quickly. So that's kind of where we've evolved with our different services, and kind of leading in that space, instead of just saying, okay, here's the home inspection, which is super important, right? We're giving you, all the different findings of your home, from, the minor maintenance issues that we have to report on to some of those bigger ticket items like your roof, electrical, HVAC. And now with the sewer scope, we work with Pipeliners, which is a plumbing company in town that we trust, and they can get you a report from our sewer scope video, free, no cost, within 24 hours of. Cool. They do the trenchless and the sleeves, so if you want to know what there's some big issues, what that would take to repair it. And then Repair Nation is another company that we work with locally, and they can pretty much quote off any type of bins or item if you would like, and you can compare. They can get multiple quotes, compare quotes from other companies as well. So that's kind of, I think, how we've continued to look at where we're going in this space and getting people information quickly, and seeing what kind of solutions we can at least help people solve. If that's the home for their client and the client wants to move forward with the home, now what, right? Sure. I need to get more information on my investment and what I'm moving forward with in my bins or period, Yep.
All the good and the bad, the new homeowner's taking that on. And I think you guys find yourself in an interesting position, because really, it's more than just an inspection. It's also, there's a very distinct time frame.
Totally. It's and they have their bins, and we've seen that evolve too, right? Like, obviously 4 or 5 years ago, seller's market, we never recommended waiving your inspection, but you had like 30 offers, you finally got one accepted, and then your negotiations for what sellers are willing to repair, you probably aren't happening. You should still get your inspection, because you could at least know what you were buying and decide from there. But now we're seeing a shift again with the more inventory up. Kind of the pricing not going through the roof and things like that. And so there's more negotiation power now when you're looking at a home. And so the inspection period is super important, because they're holding on to what am I buying and what am I getting my investment into? And we don't, as inspectors, ever comment on, pass or fail an inspection, right? We make it's an objective third-party factual opinion about, what we're seeing in the home. And then, it's up to the buyer and the client. It's their investment to decide if that home's right for them.
Right. No, that's interesting, because I guess I never thought of it in this context. But I mean, you guys are really, giving the most information that they're going to get about that home. Yeah. Because there's one thing to walk through it and
you're looking at all the cosmetic stuff, right? Like the pretty, what am I gonna, paint, my furniture, all that. That's the stuff that everybody wants to look at. But what's happening with your roof? What's happening with some of those really expensive potential items, right? That you want to know in your investment.
Sure. And then that kind of segues into, how our partnership came about of, the world is continuing to evolve. And one thing that we see, obviously, is solar and energy efficiency with homes. And it's not something that's going away, and it's something that has been sort of a pain in the butt, kind of on both sides, because I say this all the time in the presentations. It's like, just as much as the realtor hearing solar salesperson is triggering to them, solar salesperson hearing, I'm going to talk to my realtor is very triggering to them as well. And I guess for you all, how did you come about with the idea of solar, and how did those get started?
Yeah, again, it was something that we kept wanting, and our, the realtors are asking, hey, do you know anybody who do solar inspections? What, do you offer it? And so it was something that we kept wanting to be able to offer as a service, because the more you can help add on those services, also during those tight timelines, they only have so long in their inspection period. So if you have to keep coordinating multiple people out, that just elongates how much time you have to then do the follow-up on repair quotes and figure out what you're going to negotiate after. And so, but solar was one that we were we don't want our home inspectors to have to, it's so niche. And when we're looking at, as you say, scalability and growth, we really do keep focusing on our core, which is how can we, if we're bringing in a service and we're going to offer it for somebody, and if they want to pay for it, how can we make sure that it's done at a high level, and how is it valuable? And so for us, I was our home inspectors are licensed home inspectors, and they have enough to, be experts on within the whole home. They're not the experts in solar, and solar has its own niche. And we also want to deliver a report that gives you value when they're looking at that whole solar system. So that's kind of, how we were we're going to do this service with a partnership, because we didn't see how bringing it in-house would, be the best option for us to do that at a high level. And so then we were able to do our research and find Bright Home and work with you all. And, that's not your bread and butter, is doing the inspections, right? And we were able to, I know it took us a while to build the report so that the report is the same, report software that we use for our home inspections. It shows up in the same portal as the home inspection report. You get photos just like we do, and then the finding and delivering on the energy production of the home, and is the inverter operating, and all those pieces that are important to know whether the system's actually functioning properly or not.
Yeah, and I mean, I think just going around talking to real estate agents and even just in the defense of clients is, I guess for you, just from your experience, like make the case for why they should get a solar inspection.
I mean, I think that especially when you have these owned systems, most of the time they've been installed however long ago. Nobody's necessarily coming to do the maintenance on them. Right. And so, these can be expensive systems, and you're assuming a separate, mortgage or payment or whatever on it. So you definitely want to make sure that that system's functioning properly and working as what you're hoping for. And so I think if I were purchasing a home with solar owned in that regard, I'd want to know what's happening. And especially as I've learned with working with you and doing, our partnership, like the changes in solar. Yeah. And we've seen companies going out of business, and we know how much harder it is to sometimes find those, the warranties, right? Like if the installer's out of business and now we got to go chase down information, like how are we going to help the consumer? Yeah.
No, and that's what it really comes down to, is because, at the end of the day, if you're buying a home with a solar system, number one thing is you got to figure out, is this thing working? Yeah. And to what capacity? And if it's not, I mean, literally in the form of hundreds of dollars for an inspection can ultimately save, I mean, thousands, if not even tens of thousands in some scenarios. So really a no-brainer to add that and do that, because at the end of the day, if you're taking on this system, like, you're taking on the risk of the liability, and yes, hopefully the company that installed it's still around, and there are some workarounds that we can provide resources on. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's your home, it's your system, and so knowledge is power. And not only just for your own peace of mind, but also the negotiation, as you said right now. Hey, it's a little bit more of a buyer's market. There's negotiation. Use every advantage you can working with AJF, because in this scenario, it's like having the right knowledge of exactly what's going on. Third party objective is going to give you the power in the negotiation.
And know what you're purchasing. So I think that most people, I mean, what was the percentage of homes in the valley that have solar now?
I don't.
Like 10%.
Yeah, it fluctuates right around 10%, which is pretty small, all things considered, even though it seems like a lot.
But and so we're definitely seeing more increase of, if there is solar, people are wanting to add on the inspection, because I think they understand that, like, definitely a system that if it isn't functioning properly, it could be a challenge to figure out how we're going to repair it, who's repairing it. Let me find it out. And you're also betting on it working to lower your energy costs and things like that. And then if it's not, then that's not helping you in that regard either. So we're seeing more people, like, I think if there is solar, people are adding it on as definitely something that, like, feels kind of like, of course, for, what is it, $250, I think is what we start at with you all, like, to add that on. It seems like people are more and more people are doing it for when they have solar. Yeah. It's been a good service. And we've gotten good, like, feedback on, hopefully, the report, and just feeling like, again, you get something that gives you that information. And then we love working with Bright Home, because part of what you and I have been talking about is also just giving education and resources about what's happening in the solar industry. If you are listing a home that has solar, what are certain important things to look for? For who did the install? Is there a manufacturer's warranty? How do I need to find out, all these different pieces that lenders are going to want to need, or, if they're still, it's not owned outright and things like that. And I think giving that information is also really helpful, because for everything, knowledge is power, and then it helps just to create smoother transactions, which is our goal too. I mean, we want everything to be said. It's not, life, there's challenges and ups and downs with everything. But if we can help with some of that, make it less friction, then we want to play our part in that.
Yeah, and in some of it, it's like, man, my heart goes out to real estate agents sometimes, because they're called upon, I mean, to almost be, and hopefully they don't take, not like the jack of all trades, but like they need to know a lot, or at least a little about a lot of things. And solar is one of those things that it's its own language. It's always inherently been viewed as a negative, but being able to understand solar, even just the basics that we go over in our presentation, can really, I mean, it's very basic information, but you'd be surprised if you're an agent or a broker just how much that can help arm you against the competition, either side of the transaction, because there are scenarios where you're listing a home with solar where if it's paid off and it's done the right way, it can certainly be an asset and an add to the transaction, and then vice versa on the other side. If you're buying a home with solar, like knowing what's a good situation to put a client in and what's maybe less than ideal. And I had somebody from Russ Lyons, just call me after the presentation, and they were working on this deal, and it took 2 or 3 minutes to answer the questions, but
super
the information
helpful.
I gave him, it was like super helpful. Here's who to call, here's what to do, and I'm sure in that negotiation, from what he's telling me, I mean, it's going to save the client anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000 just from a 3-minute phone
which
call,
is awesome.
And that's kind of why we do it. And he's even like, well, I don't know what's in it for you. I'm like,
nothing.
Well, nothing. I mean, what goes around comes around. We do believe in that.
Well, and I share the same thing, right? Is like, especially as we lead the industry in home inspection space and solar space, like part of it is just being a resource. And I say that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, even if we didn't do an inspection for you and you have some questions, or I've had people call me on the sewer scope. We didn't do the sewer scope, but they're looking for help with, the potential repairs, or, because there's certain ways to fix systems. It doesn't always have to be the most expensive way, depending on who you're talking to and all that. And so if we can help kind of guide and answer questions and, give you people to contact, then that's also doing a part of, that integrity piece. Yeah. Right. And hooking people up. So like, okay, fine. We got to get the information we need, helped, and clients are happy. And like at the end of the day too, that just what goes around comes around.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I guess as you all look ahead to the future, obviously nobody has a magic crystal ball, but like AI and all that stuff. I mean, what how do you all see the next evolution of home inspections? And I mean, obviously you've already talked a little bit about it, just trying to be on the forefront.
Yeah, I think that for us, I mean, AI, I think, is crazy what you can do now with AI and all the things I'm reading. And, I think you can definitely use AI right now for, like, different blog post ideas or content, or there's so many different sources of, like, efficiencies, but you would never, if I use AI, check the work and add, right? But it's definitely, like, things that can help save us time. But I think that home inspectors, like, you still need physically somebody in your house with the expertise and looking at your home, right? I don't see that going away. But I think that the evolution of the industry is, again, like, how can we keep delivering the service that is done very well at a high level, professional, gives you the information you need quickly, easily, right? If it's connecting you with some follow-ups on, sewer scope repairs, or, the general contractors locally to get you that information quickly. How can we help kind of putting people in that ecosystem so that they're getting solutions and moving things forward? Because I think time is like, you don't want to necessarily always, for a dinner reservation, like, I don't call restaurants anymore. I just want to go online and, make a reservation and just, like, look. So how can we also, we're looking at some ideas of, like, what can we do to always continuously update our report interface so that it's really easy to read and people can get that information quickly. Because I think that's just where we are. Right? In our day-to-day. Yeah, no, I think it's speed, it's efficiency, it's easeability, it's access. And I remember I bought a house 3.5 years ago. I don't know if I used you guys or not. Sorry, this is before our relationship, but okay, I used AJF. No, I look in the system. I don't know who did it. It could have been you all. Well, but I remember looking through that thing. I'm like, holy hell, what? There's just so much in there, and it is very overwhelming. And I think that's where, I could see that what you guys are trying to do is obviously have the client in mind to try to keep it easy, simple for them, and to bring as much value as possible. Totally. In an area where you all are covering a lot of stuff inside of a home, and it's all condensed in this short amount of pressure-packed time. I mean, some of that you guys are, coming to a home, which is usually everyone's largest investment. Totally. It's in this time It's a stressful
constraint.
Period.
It's a very stressful period.
You finally got under contract, and we always respect that, right? Like, we train our, inspectors, and when every time even if they've been inspecting somewhere else, they still go through training. We have a whole training process. Jeff is our services manager, and he's been with us over almost 11 years. And so he is a fabulous inspector and then does all of our training. And wrap-up's really important, right? Because, like, they're waiting to see how we're delivering the information, right? You can do the best inspection that you can do, but if you can't deliver it well, then, like, what did you just do? And so it's all laid out in the report, which is obviously, like, our final word because it's written and you can go back and refer, but it's also in how we say it, how we explain it, how do you read, the clients and different parties involved to know, like, this may be an investor. They just want the the big ticket items,
right.
or this is a first time home buyer that really wants to understand they're seeing all these issues, and we know a lot of them are more of the maintenance stuff that we're required to comment on, right, per our license. And so I think too, even as we continue to evolve and grow and offer, you know, quick easeability solutions, but it's still always delivering, you know, it's a people first business. We're still customer service, customer facing, and figuring out how we just deliver that information well, and so people feel very confident in deciding on whatever they're doing with that home.
Sure.
Right, and being that resource and tying it back around. So no matter where, you know, wherever the inspection space is, we don't want to lose that, and we'll just continue to focus on, you know, when we do necessarily bring something else on, which we don't necessarily have plans to right now, but it's doing it well, and the clients are going to feel like I got value for that. I got the information I needed, even just the peace of mind to know, like, okay, I did my mold air quality assessment and the house is clean, right? And so whatever your, you know, gives you that peace of mind, I think is really important. So I think no matter what, you know, for us, it's also as we grow and meet the needs of, you know, our inspection team and availability and getting people in quickly, right? Within 48 hours is our goal of scheduling, you know, not losing that scalability and not losing that, you know, really high level of professionalism and high like our guys are the experts.
Sure.
I think they're the best in the business. We train really hard. We continually train and do continuing education with them. It's not required for a home inspector license, by the way. But how can we keep doing that so that our team is still at the top of their game?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think it just goes back to what does your company stand for? What do you believe in? Which is, you know, being that leader in the industry, consistency, taking care of your customers, taking care of your people. Because even giving your people, you know, I don't care if somebody's been home inspecting forever. Like, it's an industry where I'm sure things continue to evolve, change, and the more information you can give them, the more confident they are, and that they believe in the company. Like, hey, they're going to arm me with the right information to make sure I'm doing this at an efficient level. And obviously, you know, family business, you know, going on 30 years. I mean, as you kind of look forward, you know, down the line, I mean, what do you want AJF's legacy to be?
You know, I think opportunity is still really exciting, and opportunity for our team, right? Because as we continue to grow, like, there's definitely, you know, people who have been with us, if they want leadership or they want to be able to grow within our company, like, hopefully there's no ceiling for them, and they can, as we grow, be able to continue to fill positions and things that we need. And so that actually is really exciting to me, for me, because we're being able to provide, you know, fulfill their dreams of, you know, if it's home ownership or moving to a certain part of town or going on this vacation with their family. Like, that's a big deal that I want that legacy to continue. And then I love, you know, being able to say, like, before I knew you, AJF, I look back and, like, AJF was our inspector, right? Or whatever it is, I don't know, but just delivering still, like, a really high service is that I just continue to see, right? And that they're like, yeah, maybe you guys have continued to potentially grow, but we grow as we're looking at where we need to keep capacity in our market and our growth trajectory, but continue to deliver on that is really important.
Yeah, and I think,
and not losing that branding and, like, family feel.
Sure. Yeah, especially, you know, starting as a family business and still working in it. And I think, I mean, I've interviewed a lot of people that have successfully owned businesses, and I think that's almost like the interesting thread of commonality that I find is those that are doing it well and I think have the right intentions. You really do care about your people. And, you know, we've always said that some of our very best times of business ownership has been when our people have been able to do these life-changing things or succeed or be able to, you know, go on a trip they've always wanted to or buy a house or whatever the case may be. And some of the toughest times have been we've been stolen from, you know what I mean? Like, in various ways. So that always sucks. And it's like, man, but, you know, as you continue to take care of people, set the right culture, do the right things, eventually it all comes back around 100%. From that point. Well,
and just being consistent, too. So, like, that's how you keep growing is, like, we kind of just put our head down and we keep doing what we know works and what works well and delivering on that. And then you look up and you're like, wow, we've kind of just continue to have this, like, growth trajectory, and obviously, you know, knowing your numbers and knowing all these different pieces of it to kind of keep you on target and then be able to pivot if things change. But, you know, people always. So I love it.
Yeah, that's great.
But it's been fun, and watching you guys grow too as the market changes and consolidations and things happen.
Yeah,
too.
no, it's been great. And I think it goes back to what you say, being consistent, because that's also a part of success in business. Is it's really easy to chase shiny objects that are like outside of your realm of things.
Yes.
And, we own a couple businesses, and, even today we got hit up by somebody like, hey, we should do this and that. We're just like, bro, we just don't have the bandwidth. The capacity. It's like, man, it seems like a great idea, but I just,
how do I put my name on it and then
exactly. Well? And it's like, even as an individual, like you have X amount of time,
in a day,
emotion, bandwidth. Because the biggest thing is, you could do a million things, but I'd rather just do one thing well.
Exactly.
Couple things well that matter, and
that's still at the end of the day what we're talking about, the solar piece, staying on top. Right. How can you were talking about the batteries, which I think is really interesting, and that shift a little bit in solar, is just having that potential to just have the battery, which I think is a really interesting piece, but still that's your business, so it's still we're still doing high quality home inspection, so we still want to stay within our lane of delivering on that.
Sure.
So
well, no, we appreciate having you on.
Thank you. This was fun.
First woman ever.
I love it. Hopefully I
You set a high bar, so.
It's always fun to talk to you.
Yeah, no.
Keep the conversation. Keep it going. I love it.
Yeah, no, and we're excited to continue to go out there and educate. And so, if you're a realtor, broker, looking for more information on solar, the solar inspections, obviously utilize AJF.
We have the checklist that you put together too, which is really helpful, I think, for agents and brokers to share with their clients if needed, or when you're going into a listing or have a buyer, okay, here's some steps that I need to find the information.
Yeah, and
the
that's,
solar piece.
I think, just because there's obviously so many roads you could go down, I think the biggest thing, and with the presentation, we're just trying to give you the basics, a basic strong foundation. That's going to cover 90% of most everything. Obviously, you're going to have one-offs here or there, but having a strong foundation, then having AJF and us as a resource is, the way we're promoting the partnership. But if people are looking to find out more about AJF, where do they find you all on socials?
We're at AJF Inspections on social media, and then website ajfinspections.com, so you can learn all about our services. And we do standalone services as well for sewer scope, radon testing, mold, air quality assessment, and solar. So we're happy to help coordinate that.
Cool. And for those that have stuck out through this whole thing,
maybe we didn't put y'all to sleep.
Yeah. What does AJF stand for?
Oh, that's good. So Allie, me, my brother is Josh, and then Furman, which is my maiden name. So my parents had foresight to name, in the future, the business after us, and here we are.
That's awesome. Cool. So that's a fun little trivia piece if you stuck through.
I love it.
So, once again, thanks for coming on. Thank you all for joining another episode of the Be Bright podcast. Please like, subscribe, share with a friend, family member, an enemy, whoever. Just keep getting the word out, and look forward to chatting more soon.